What's good, sports fans? Are you ready to elevate your live entertainment experience? Well, let me introduce you to SeatGeek, an amazing platform that connects you to your favorite events while saving you money. With SeatGeek, you can easily find tickets for sports games, concerts, and so much more, all in one place. The interface is user-friendly, making it simple to browse and compare prices. And one of the best features is the interactive seating chart. You can see exactly where you'll be sitting and how much you'll be spending, ensuring you get the best value for your money. But here's the best part. Check this out. By using my promo code, ChalkItUpSports, you can enjoy a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. That's right, $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Imagine catching that thrilling game or concert without breaking the bank. It's a win-win situation. Plus, you'll be a part of a community of fans who eat, sleep, and breathe live events just as much as you do. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to download the SeatGeek app today. And don't forget to use my promo code ChalkItUpSports for a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. Get excited. Now let's get back to the show. Yeah. What's good? This is your boy, Tone DeShields II. You guys are locked in on your dose of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I am your humble host, Tone DeShields II. I am super grateful to be here with you guys. I do not take my position for granted. You guys have a ton of options. You guys got a lot of content out there. People are doing great things in this space. That's a fact. And yet you guys still choose to kick it with me on a daily basis. So I appreciate you guys. Make sure you continue to stay locked in. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. On top of that, make sure you are taking advantage of the other perks of being a supporter of Chalk It Up Sports. You can lock in on Spotify. We make sure the content is available over there as well. And we also make sure the content is available on Apple Podcasts. And you can also check me out on the socials, right? Check me out on TikTok. Check me out on Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. All you got to do is search Chalk It Up _sports on TikTok and Instagram. And all you got to do is search my last name, DeShields, on X. And you'll find me pretty easy, quick, fast, in a hurry. It's just that simple. Or just type in the hashtag Chalk It Up Sports. You'll find me real quick. Nonetheless, the content is always available, and I appreciate you guys for always locking in. On top of that, make sure you guys take advantage of that offer from SeatGeek. I partnered with SeatGeek, and SeatGeek is offering you guys $20 off your first SeatGeek order. All you got to do is download the app, create a profile, decide what event you want to go to. It's baseball season, so make sure you guys take advantage. And all you got to do is type in that promo code Chalk It Up Sports. You'll get $20 off your first SeatGeek order, and it's straight like that. All right, let's get to the shenanigans. Let's get to the content. Let's not waste too much time here. We're going to be here for about an hour, maybe, give or take. And I want to talk to you guys about some comments that came from the Norfolk Care Complex, some comments in particular that came from Kendall Lamb. Kendall Lamb is a recent signing of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's a offensive tackle. He's been an offensive tackle for over a decade in this NFL. Well, just at a decade. He's entering his 11th season. But he's been playing football for a long time. He's 33 years old. He was an undrafted guy, so he got it out the mud early. And I respect that. But some comments recently came out of the Norfolk Care Complex via him. And he was showing a lot of love to the Eagles while also slighting his former employer in the Miami Dolphins. Now, I want to make sure we dog walk this thing because there's some context behind his statement that I want to get into regarding both organizations. But Kendall Lamb, again, I want to add more context to his career as well. He's a guy that's played a lot of football. He's played for about 4 or 5 organizations, if I'm not mistaken. Make sure I got this right here. Kendall Lamb, 33 years old, been in the league for 10 years, entering his 11th season, has played in 119 football games, NFL games, has started in 44 of them. He's played for the Houston Texans, the Cleveland Browns, the Tennessee Titans, the Miami Dolphins, and hopefully he'll be on the Philadelphia Eagles roster come week 1. But this guy isn't a stranger or isn't new to the NFL, isn't new to organizational structure, culture. He's experienced a handful of various cultures and coaching and just dynamics in league circles. He's experienced a lot. And his most recent destination with the Miami Dolphins didn't necessarily go according to plan. But let me just get to his comments. Again, we're locking in on Kendall Lamb's comments regarding the Eagles and by proxy, the Miami Dolphins. So let me just read what Lamb said here. And also let me see if I could let's get into it. So Kendall Lamb, offensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I said, he's already beginning to feel the difference in cultures from the Eagles and the Dolphins. That Philly culture versus that Miami culture. He's already starting to feel the difference. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. I appreciate the love. Kendall Lamb says here, quote, I understand why the Eagles reached 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Players are never late, never toxic, and after every practice, the room spends 15 minutes sharing personal struggles to stay mentally sharp. Something I never got with the Dolphins. End quote. Man, let me read that again. It's a lot there. Lamb says, and I quote, I understand why the Eagles reached 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Players are never late, never toxic, and after every practice, the room spends 15 minutes sharing personal struggles to stay mentally sharp, something I never got with the Dolphins. Now, Kendall Lamb spent 3 seasons in Miami. 3 seasons. He spent 4 years in Houston, 2 years in Cleveland, 1 year in Tennessee, and 3 years in Miami. So he's pretty much been in Miami or was in Miami for the entire Mike McDaniel tenure. Mike McDaniel is the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He was there. He got there the same time Mike McDaniel got there, right? So he walked in during the inception of a new culture, a new regime. So it wasn't like he walked into an already presently bad situation. He walked into a clean slate, and he was able to watch a culture implode on itself, so to speak. And I don't think any of us, when we look at the Miami Dolphins, when we look at the Miami Dolphins, personnel-wise, I don't think we can look at the Dolphins and say they've not been talented during the Mike McDaniel tenure. I always felt like the Miami Dolphins were one of the teams that people talked highly about. Now, they've battled injuries over the past few seasons, right? You can only do so much about that. But from a personnel perspective, I don't think any of us looked at the Dolphins as a team that was short on talent. We never looked at them as that. Devin Achane, Tua Tagovailoa. They had Raheem Mostert, I think, right? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. There was a point right when they had Mike Gesicki, I think, right? On defense, Jalen Phillips. They had Teron Armstead on the offensive line, right? Who else they had? Jalen Ramsey. You know, that team has been talented, and I'm sure there's more guys I'm not mentioning, right? I'm sure. But we've never looked at the Dolphins as a team that's devoid of talent. But we have looked at the Miami Dolphins as a team that's devoid of essence, devoid of, I don't want to say accountability, but there's something hollow about the Miami Dolphins. This is my opinion. You guys don't have to agree or disagree. But there's something hollow about the Miami Dolphins. There's something that lacks soul with the Miami Dolphins. Could it just be that whole Miami culture? There's something insincere about it. You know, when you're in Miami, sometimes it's hard to maintain a certain level of professionalism because of just the culture, the sun, the heat, you know, the beautiful woman, the Sunset Beach, and you know, like, or South Beach, whatever it is. Like, I can understand the difficulties of trying to be a disciplined person in Miami. But nonetheless, you're a pro athlete. Miami has always been a team that we looked at as talented, but they've been devoid of consistency, devoid of seriousness. There's a level of seriousness that is missing from the Miami Dolphins. And I think it's hard to overcome that being in Miami. It's hard to overcome that. So when I listen to Kendall Lamb say what he said about the Miami Dolphins, and look, I'm not a Dolphins fan. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the Dolphins. I'm not. But I'm just going off a feeling, going off what I see, just what the news you hear from Dolphins players, and you know, even the Vic Fangio angle, right? Think about the Vic Fangio angle. Vic Fangio was in Miami for one season. They was complaining because he was working them too hard. They were complaining about Vic Fangio's methods. Meanwhile, you got Cooper DeJean. Meanwhile, you got Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell on a podcast talking about how much they love box drills. And Reed Blankenship talked all the time about how box drills kick his behind, how difficult box drills are. And Quinyon and Coop, they talk about how difficult it is, how challenging it is, especially at the end of practice. They talk about how difficult it is, but they welcome it. They lean in. They love that OG mentality. We've heard Nolan Smith talk about Vic Fangio and him having that OG mentality, that old school mentality, the my way or the highway vibe. Like, this Eagles team, they're coachable. They want to win. They lean on each other. They trust each other. They trust the process. They trust their coaches. It seems like Kendall Lamb, what he's referring to in Miami, is that everything that the Eagles are, the Miami Dolphins were not. And the Miami Dolphins, they've had culture issues for a long time. Before Mike McDaniel, before Tua, they've had culture issues for a long time. But they've especially had them during this time. It's been talked about openly about how the Mike McDaniel locker room, the Mike McDaniel roster, that his team, his version of the Dolphins, there's a certain looseness there that's not working. So when Kendall Lamb says players are never late, never toxic, that means in Miami, guys were always late, guys were always toxic. Guys were for self. Guys didn't put the team first. Guys weren't professionals. He said after every practice, the room spends 15 minutes sharing personal struggles to stay mentally sharp. That tells me in Miami, it was all about getting to the bag and going home and being the first one on South Beach. He said the Eagles spend about 15 minutes just talking about personal struggles just to stay sharp, just to keep everybody on their P's and Q's. What were they doing in Miami? You see, that's not a winning culture down there. And the results have indicated that. Again, the Mike McDaniel era has not been devoid of its issues. We've had moments where we were like, yo, the Miami Dolphins are the hottest team in football. But then when we look at it in the macro, when we take a few steps back and we say to ourselves, okay, we talk about there were points when we talked about the Miami Dolphins as like the hottest team in football. But when you take a step back, you look at the record, you look at who they've been over the past 3 seasons under Mike McDaniel, you say to yourself, hold on, wait. A 9-8 record in 2022. Okay, that's your first season. A 9-8 record, your first season coaching, not bad. 2023, you raised 9-8 to 11-6. Okay, not bad. Progress. 9-8 record. Made the playoffs, by the way. They made the playoffs, too. Lost in the wild card round. So 2022, 9-8 record, made the playoffs. Lost in the wild card round. 2023, 11-6. You got 2 more wins. You made the playoffs, lost in the wild card round. 2024, your team regresses. 8-9. No playoff berth. So now Mike McDaniel is entering year 4 of his current contract. I'm unsure if they gave Mike McDaniel a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal. I'm unsure. But you look at the Mike McDaniel era so far, they're 28-23. They battled major injuries at key positions, in particular with Tua on the defensive line. They finished the 2024 season 8-9. Meanwhile, the Eagles under the Nick Sirianni era, right? And Nick Sirianni became the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles in 2021. So there's a year difference between those guys in terms of when they got the job. Mike McDaniel's entering year 4. Nick Sirianni's entering year 5. They both inherited their quarterbacks. Mike McDaniel inherited Tua. Nick Sirianni inherited Jalen Hurts. But Nick Sirianni's record over the past 4 seasons, 48-20. That's the regular season record. By the way, when it comes to Miami, their playoff record is 0-2 under him. Nick Sirianni's playoff record 6-3. And if we want to exclude the 2021 season, just so we're comparing apples to apples, the past 3 seasons, if you want to do that, then at that point, Nick Sirianni is, let's double check this real quick, 48 minus 9 wins, 39. Okay. 20 losses minus 8, that's 12. So Sirianni is 39-12 over the past 3 seasons, regular season, 39-12. 39-12 in comparison to Mike McDaniel's 28-23 over the past 3 seasons. They both have had great rosters, if you ask me. Great rosters. Nick Sirianni's been to 2 conference championships, won both. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. Yet they talk about Mike McDaniel as if he's this whiz, this offensive genius, right? When Mike McDaniel got that job and how they referred to him since he's been the coach of Miami, they talked about him as if he's this whiz kid, this offensive genius. Was the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Young guy, young hotshot, this young whippersnapper who has a quirky way of coaching, who's unorthodox in just how he carries himself. You look at him, he looks like an accountant. Honestly, if you look at him, he looks like your neighborhood weed dealer in college. Mike McDaniel looks like a college weed dealer. Let's be honest about this. He does. He looks like the guy in college that got that fire. That got that gas. He looked like that. Meanwhile, Nick Sirianni, he looks like a consigliere. You feel what I'm saying? He looks like an underboss. So that's beside the point. the point I'm trying to make is you have guys, you have coaches who get so much notoriety for being these offensive whiz kids, right? They get all this love for being smart and being cutting edge with the offenses and having these explosive offensive schemes and whatever it may be. Meanwhile, their culture sucks. Meanwhile, the culture is awful. There's no accountability. There's no respect in the building. You can criticize Nick Sirianni all you want. You can say Nick Sirianni is an offensive guy. Why isn't he calling the plays? You can say, oh yeah, Nick Sirianni, he's brazen, he's brash. Sometimes he can be a little egotistical on the sidelines. He can be a little cocky, whatever it may be. Say what you want about him. The results are the results. His team respects him. He gets the best out of them. He's maintaining a culture. And look, let's be honest about this. You fired Doug Peterson, the Super Bowl winning head coach. You coming off of a 4-11-1 season. Your culture is in the toilet. Nick Sirianni inherited a 4-win team in 2021. A 4-win team. You coming off a 4-win season. You just traded your franchise quarterback. You fired your Super Bowl winning coach. You fired your franchise. You traded you fired your Super Bowl winning coach. You traded your franchise quarterback. You're coming off of a 4-11-1 season. Your culture is in the toilet. I don't care what nobody say. Your culture is in the garbage. Basura. Nick Sirianni comes in, and immediately he tried calling plays, but he realized, what's best for the team is probably if I assume that CEO role. Hey, Shane, I want you to call the plays from now on. Immediately shows his ego was not more important than team success. Players pay attention to that. Nick Sirianni always falling on the sword for his guys, always taking all the bullets for his guys. No matter what dysfunction you claim existed between him or Jalen Hurts or between him or whatever it may be, them players liked him. They had his back. Even the vets had him. Fletcher Cox, BG, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey had his back. AJ Brown, Hurts, Smitty, these guys, like they got his back. Now, have there been moments where we've questioned the relationship between Hurts and Nick Sirianni? Sure. But because they're professionals, because they're grown men, because they understand that they're not bigger than the program, they get past that. And what happens when you get past it? What happens when you put the team first? What happens when you don't move with ego? You win Super Bowls. You make it to 2 conference championships. You feel what I'm saying? You win a lot of football games when winning is the main thing. When your culture is intact. You look at Miami, Kendall Lamb is not making nothing up. Kendall Lamb is not making nothing up. Kendall Lamb honestly ain't speaking on nothing that we already don't assume about Miami. Let's call it what it is. We already got assumptions, personal assumptions about Miami. We don't take them serious. With all due respect to who they got down there. They talented, but we don't take the Miami Dolphins serious. There was a point where we thought we were supposed to. Remember, there was a stretch. I want to make sure I got this right here. 2023. Hold on. The 2023 Miami Dolphins. There was a point in time where they were ringing wins off. Where else? Was that 2022 as well? That offense was crazy. There was a point where the Miami Dolphins was just putting numbers on the board. Numbers on the board. Like 2022 and 20, like we were all looking, we were calling the Miami Dolphins the greatest show on surf. Remember that? That was a play on the whole greatest show on turf thing with the Los Angeles Rams. But there was a point where we were calling the Miami Dolphins the greatest show on surf. Devon A-Chain, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Like, they were just going crazy. They were going crazy from a production standpoint. But obviously, injuries derailed that team. You know, Tua's injuries and the injuries on defense. And, you know, we can go on and on and on. Like, it's unfortunate. But, you know, beyond just the production, there's been a culture problem in Miami. And Kendall Lamb, new offensive tackle for the Eagles. Kendall Lamb is fighting to be the number one swing tackle for the Eagles, right? He has a lot of guys that he's going to be battling up against. Miles Hinton. He's going to be competing with Cameron. What's my man's name? Cameron Williams. Miles Hinton is going to be competing with. He's going to be competing with Darian Kennard. He's going to be competing with a lot of guys to be that go-to swing tackle for Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. So does he make the roster? Does he not? Who knows? Who knows? But Kendall Lamb has been in the league for 10 years for good reason. You don't last this long in the league on the offensive line if you're not capable, if you're not somebody teams trust to be that guy to come in and pick up snaps. So there's a strong chance Kendall Lamb can make the roster because of the experience, flat out. So much experience. Nonetheless, when Kendall Lamb speaks on the Eagles culture and compares it to the Miami Dolphins culture, it just further accentuates why the Eagles are successful and why other teams aren't. It further accentuates that narrative. Like, think about what Nick Sirianni said recently. Nick Sirianni said success and praise is like perfume. Sniff it, don't drink it. It's poison. Sniff it for a little bit, move on. Nick Sirianni is already talking about, hey, move on from the Super Bowl. It's done. It's over with. We passed that now. It's time to focus on 2025. Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship and Quinyon Mitchell and Zack Baun and all the guys, Saquon Barkley, all the guys that have been on their podcast, Exciting Mics, they've talked openly about the fact that, these young guys that are coming in, they want it. They hungry. They fitting in great. They understand the culture. Zack Baun coming off of that crazy season he had. He understands that, we got the tools now. We got this defense down pat now. I think we're going to come in better, come in stronger. Saquon Barkley already thinking about what he going to do this season. They got each other's back. They hold each other accountable. Did the Eagles have their ups and downs in 2024? With the A.J. Brown, BG stuff, and then Jalen Hurts in the passing game. Did they have their problems? Yes, indeed, they did. But the thing is, problems are going to come. We're talking about men, grown men who get paid millions of dollars to play a child's game. And a lot of money is on the line. A lot of legacy is on the line. Respect is on the line. Their bodies are on the line. And you think there's not going to be any sort of turmoil that happens within these organizations during a given season? Every organization, every team, and look, I'm not in the building, but I'm using common sense. Every team in the league deals with issues throughout the season. The great teams overcome and they still win in spite of. Seriously. And again, did the Eagles have their fair share of issues? 2023, the collapse, right? Things happen. It's a part of the story. Things happen. But how do you overcome? How do you bounce back? Do you allow a 2023 issue to become a 2024 issue? Sometimes things take on a life of its own. Sometimes things snowball on you and they get out of control. And next thing you know, the season's over. And you went on a 5-game losing streak. Things can get away from you fast in this league. But you're defined by how you bounce back. You're not defined on whether you fell or not, or whether you were successful or not. You're defined on your path. You're defined on the journey. You're defined on how you overcame. That's what defines you. So Kendall Lamb's comments are phenomenal to me because all it does is already assert what I already knew about this organization. Nick Sirianni, hired in 2021. That 2021 hiring cycle was cute, wasn't it? That NFL hiring cycle in 2021 was cute, wasn't it? Remember, in 2021, Nick Sirianni got hired by the Eagles. Robert Saleh got hired by the Jets. Brandon Staley got hired by the Chargers. David Culley got hired by the Texans, which is BS, by the way. David Culley got done dirty, but it's whatever. Arthur Smith was hired by the Falcons. Dan Campbell was hired by the Lions, and Urban Meyer was hired by the Jaguars. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new hires. 7 new hires in 2021. There's only 2 guys with jobs left. There's only 2 of those guys that are still head coaches in this league. Only 2 of them. Only 2 of them. Nick Sirianni and Dan Campbell. And what makes it that much more interesting is that the common denominator between Dan Campbell and Nick Sirianni is that they're CEO coaches. They're rah-rah guys. They're messaging guys. They're the type of guys that are real big on culture and messaging and leadership and empowering their players and valuing their players' point of view. Like they're player coach, they're player coaches, but they're CEO coaches as well. They're player-friendly coaches. They're not known for being these mathematicians, these whiz kids. Brandon Staley was known as being like this defensive dynamo. Robert Saleh was known as being this defensive genius. Arthur Smith, he was known as being like this offensive genius. Urban Meyer came from the college ranks, known as he was supposed to be some genius as well. Right? I'm giving David Culley a pass because they never wanted to give him that job in the first place. They gave it to him. He was a bridge coach. He was a bridge coach for them to get D'Amico Ryans. He was a bridge coach. They did David Culley dirty. So I'm not even going to put him in this category. But Robert Saleh couldn't maintain the culture in New York. Brandon Staley, he lost them early. Arthur Smith, gone. Urban Meyer, fired before the season was over. So I just think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that the head coach that everybody doubted, I think Nick Sirianni was probably the most doubted head coach throughout that whole cycle. Out of every head coach in that 2021 cycle, I think Nick Sirianni was doubted the most. He was probably the one person everybody felt was the least qualified. And now look at him. One of the winningest coaches and one of the winningest active coaches in football. Super Bowl champion, 2-time NFC champion. 2-time NFC East champion. 4 playoff berths in a row. Come on, man. Come on, man. Kendall Lamb, he's played this game for a long time. He knows what he's talking about. When Kendall Lamb says, quote, I understand why the Eagles reached 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Players are never late, never toxic, and after every practice, the room spends 15 minutes sharing personal struggles to stay mentally sharp. Something I never got with the Dolphins, end quote. When Kendall Lamb says something like that, believe it. It's not hearsay. It's not made up. It's not something that it's out of nowhere. And Kendall Lamb is actually, this isn't his first time being vocal. It's not his first time being vocal. I think he was vocal previously. I think when he was with the Dolphins or when he was with Tennessee, I can't remember what team he was with at the time, but he was pretty vocal about how important it is to be well prepared and the importance of just taking your job seriously. This is why you got to respect people who deliver the results, man. You got to. This game is not complicated. Football is not complicated. Win more than you lose. Show up in big games. Be disciplined and have attention to detail with your craft, with your responsibilities. Check off your box. Do your job. And respect will be earned. Simple as that. The game of football is not complex. Do you win? Check. Does your team respect you? Check. Are you constantly in the playoffs? Check. Do you win big games? Check. Are you a champion? Check. It's not. This game's not complex. They want to complicate the game, but it's really not. They want you to look at the game in this very esoteric way, and they want you to believe that the game is more complex than what it is. The reality is it's not. Nick Sirianni has beaten some of your favorite coaches, some of the coaches that y'all call these offensive geniuses, these nerds. Y'all call Nick Sirianni a doofus. Well, the doofus is beating up on them nerds every time. Sean McVay has never beaten Nick Sirianni. Never. It's a fact. It's a fact. But they'll say, well, there's not. I can't name a single organization that will take Nick Sirianni over Sean McVay. Okay. The results are still the results. The results are still the results. Yeah, well, Howie Roseman built that roster, and so, well, that's what Howie Roseman is supposed to do. He's the general manager, the executive vice president. He's an executive. He's the vice president of player personnel, whatever it is. Like, that's what he's supposed to do. You're supposed to have a GM that does his job and put the talent in the room. Then you're supposed to have a coach that's capable, a coach and a staff that's capable of maximizing that talent and giving them direction. And you're supposed to have a quarterback that can execute on those plans, that can execute the plays, that can put people in position, that can do his job at a level that you can win with. This game is not complicated. This game is not complicated. But they like to muddy the waters to fit their narrative. Jalen Hurts wins significantly more than he loses. Nick Sirianni wins significantly more than he loses. Howie Roseman has won significantly more than he's lost. Two-time Super Bowl champion general manager, has done it with two different head coaches, two different starting quarterbacks, two different rosters completely. Jeffrey Lurie, phenomenal owner. It starts from top down. It starts from top down. No one can be who they need to be in this organization without Jeffrey Lurie creating this environment of winning, this environment of accountability, this environment of family. Every time I hear or see an Eagles alumni talk, a former Eagles player, for the most part, they speak highly of the organization. Whoever doesn't speak highly of the Eagles, I look at them and I think about how they've been in other destinations, and I'm like, okay, it's a reason why you didn't fit in. It's a reason why you didn't fit in. But nonetheless, man, shout out to Kendall Lamb. Shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. Shout out to the Miami Dolphins. This is a very important season. This is a very important season for Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins. mainly because he's had the talent. They've had the rosters, man. And they have failed to be able to materialize deep playoff runs. They've been one and done in the playoffs 2 out of the past 3 seasons under Mike McDaniel. And whenever we get to December, the Miami Dolphins are shells of themselves. You put the Miami Dolphins in under 40-degree weather, they're cooked. That's how soft they are, with all due respect. With all due respect. All right. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. If you're new to the show, I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. You guys are phenomenal. Let me read some of your comments here real quick. Let's see here. My man, Sweet Chin Music, says, happy birthday to Howie Roseman. That's a fact, man. Happy birthday to Big Howie. Shout out to him. All right, let's see what we have here. Gatekeeper Coley says, when they ask who would you take, I always say it Hurts because he always beats the big three or four. Facts. I want the guy that's going to win the games. Simple as that. You know, like it came up on the herd, I think yesterday or the day before. You know, I think J-Mac, he brought up Jalen Hurts' production and how productive he's been since being a starter. You know, since being in the league, how productive he's really been. Jalen Hurts has been in the top. Jalen Hurts has been in the top 3 in yards, top 3 in total touchdown, top 3 in total yards, top 3 in total touchdowns, and top 3 in wins since being in the league. Since joining the league, he's been in the top 3 in total yards, top 3 in total touchdowns, and top 3 in wins. Right? J-Mac was trying to make a point that, hey, this sounds like top 5 quarterback stuff to me. And of course, Colin Cowherd being dismissive, being condescending, he said, yeah, well, you know, I can't think of a GM who would take Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow. I can't think of a GM who would take Jalen Hurts over this guy or that guy, whatever it is. Yeah, he's a good quarterback. Philadelphia has surrounded him with a ton of talent. And my thought to that is, so what? So what? We've never seen Joe Burrow without an offense. We've never seen Joe Burrow without a number 1 receiver or two. T. Higgins could be a number 1 receiver in a lot of teams. But we've never seen Joe Burrow without Jamar Chase. We've never seen Joe Burrow without T. Higgins. Never. I think Joe Burrow's rookie season, you know, he got hurt pretty early. So, you know, can't really use that. He got hurt, I think, week 6, week 7 or something like that. He got hurt pretty early, Joe Burrow's rookie year. But he came back. He got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and whatever it may be. Like, you know, he had Mixon for a long time, and you know, now has he had shoddy offensive line play for sure, but we've never seen Joe Burrow without weapons. Never. We've seen Jalen Hurts with an inconsistent defense. We've seen him with inconsistent weapons, and he still made the playoffs every single year. There was a point where he only had Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor, Quez Watkins, and John Hightower. I think John Hightower. But there was a point where he only had Devontae Smith and, you know, he had Dallas Goedert too, by the way. He did have Dallas Goedert. I will admit that he had Dallas Goedert. But Dallas Goedert gets hurt. He's not there consistently. But overall point is like, why are we overcomplicating this? The goal was to build the team around your guy, right? Cool. So if you know Jalen Hurts is a guy, that can win the games, especially the big ones, especially if you put talent around him, And if that's your goal in the first place, why wouldn't you want to take him? And look, I'm not saying Joe Burrow's not good. I think Joe Burrow's a phenomenal talent. Now I'm talking solely about Jalen Hurts. Forget Joe Burrow now. I'm talking solely about Jay Hurts now. If you know Jalen Hurts can maximize the roster if you give it to him, he can win football games. He can put up points or touchdowns rather. He can put up the yards in the production. He can win the games. If you know that about him, why wouldn't he be somebody you could build around? He's proven that you can build around him. He's proven that you can build around Jalen Hurts. They talked about that though. They said when he came out of college, when he was coming to the league, they said, I would never build my franchise around Jalen Hurts. He's not somebody you could build around. They spoke about him like that. They said Jalen Hurts is not somebody you can build around. Boy, were they wrong. The goal is always to build the roster around your guy. That's the goal. Build the best roster you can so your quarterback can maximize it. We've seen organizations build great rosters and their quarterbacks cannot take advantage of it. Now, there's a lot of nuance that goes into why teams lose, right? That's the adult conversation. There is a ton of nuance, a ton of context that goes into a football team losing a game, right? But at the same time, these quarterbacks is making the money they making. They're paid to overcome. They're paid to overcome setbacks and whatever it may be, right? Maybe the quarterback did his job. He got the lead. Now all defense has to do is hold the opposing offense, and they can't do it, and all of a sudden you lose the game. Me personally, I'm not looking at a quarterback like he did something wrong. I'm not. But after a certain point, you get to a point, after a certain point, you say to yourself, okay, this guy, okay, it's not all his fault, but man, he sure is losing a lot of these big games. And that can go for Lamar Jackson, that can go for Joe Burrow, that can go for Josh Allen or whoever, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott. You know, it can go for a lot of guys. And look, Jalen Hurts, let's not pretend. Jalen Hurts has lost in a wild card round twice in his career. He's lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2021 in the wild card round. He's lost to the Buccaneers in the 2023 playoff run in the wild card round. He's lost in the playoffs for sure. He's lost. But at the same time, losing happens. It's a part of the game. Do you win more than you lose? Do you win more than you lose? Jalen Hurts does. 6-3 in the playoffs. 6-3 in the playoffs. What else? He's also 46-20 as a starter in the regular season. How can you bet against a guy like that? How can you not want to build around a guy like that who's proven that he can win more than he lose? You're not going to win every game. It's the nature of the beast. But do you win more than you lose? Jalen Hurts does. Nick Sirianni does. Nick Sirianni does. I can bet on that. I can bet on that. I'm sorry, you can't carry somebody to a 46-20 career record. You can't. You just can't. It's too many variables involved. It's too difficult to win football games. You can't carry a quarterback for 66 games or 66 starts. You can't. You can't. That's why when people try to say, oh, yeah, Jalen Hurts gets carried. How? It's difficult to do what they do. It's hard enough. It's hard enough for these guys to do their job in particular. Be it if you play corner, receiver, tight end, or running back. offensive line, DB, linebacker. It's hard enough for them to do their job. They got to focus on their box. They can't focus on Jalen Hurts. They got to focus on doing their job. They're not worried about carrying him. They're worried about doing their job for the team. Jalen Hurts got to do his job. Pre-snap, post-snap, deliver the ball from point A to point B, moving the chains, protecting the football, getting guys lined up properly, making the right checks at the line, making the right audibles, depending on what you see, diagnosing defenses, picking up blitzes or whatever. Jalen Hurts has so much he's responsible for. You can't carry somebody for 66 games or 66 starts. You can't. You just can't. You can't carry a head coach to a 48-20 record. You can't. You can't carry a coach to you just can't. Especially when you think about what they've been through. You just can't. All right. Let's see where we are here. We're about to get out of here pretty soon. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to talk to you guys about here. Jalen Hurts. Let's take it a step further. Jalen Hurts. Let's talk on a lighter note. He is authoring a children's book. Shout out to Jay Hurts, man. Jalen Hurts is authoring a children's book titled Better Than a Touchdown. Better Than a Touchdown. Jalen Hurts, this is something that he's been working on. This is something that's been really important to him. Jalen Hurts, he's the son of educators. His dad is a head football coach at their local high school. His mom is a teacher. You feel what I'm saying? I think his brother coaches football as well, if I'm not mistaken. And Jalen Hurts got his bachelor's from Alabama, got his master's from Oklahoma. He's he's someone who clearly takes education seriously. He's invested in the Philadelphia school district. He's invested in AC units for a lot of those schools to make sure that kids can actually be comfortable learning. It's so difficult being in a classroom and the AC doesn't work. I've experienced that before. I've experienced being in a classroom in Philadelphia and the air is not working. One day, there's been days where it's been so hot, they had to let us go home because they legally can't keep us in those rooms under those conditions. Jalen Hurts has invested in students. He's invested in the Philadelphia school district. He's invested in his community. And he's taken that a step further by authoring a children's book that will be illustrated by Nika Myers. Now, I'm not too familiar with Nika Myers, but Nika Myers, let me see if I can get to what she's done in her past. It says Nika Myers is a visionary illustrator and designer based in Toronto, Canada. She seamlessly weaves color, textures, story, and charm into her art, infusing each creation with elements reminiscent of Black culture. Her artistic endeavors span both digital and traditional mediums, showcasing a delightful blend of experimentation while maintaining a familiar tone, vibrancy, and execution. Her portfolio graces numerous shows and publications across diverse creative industries with clients including Meta, Disney, Nelvana, Warner Brothers, Universal Studios Orlando, Penguin Random House, Boom Comics, IDW, and more. So Nika Myers has been doing what she does for a long time. She's done books such as You Are Fierce, The Grover School Pledge, Because You Are, Twinkle Twinkle Winter Night, The Little Mermaid, One Good Night Till Valentine's Day, I Am Amazing, Bedtime Bonnet, Who Did It First. She's written a lot of she's illustrated a lot of books for school-age children. Nonetheless, Jalen Hurts has partnered with her to come out with his very own children's book, fully authored by him, which I think is really dope. And this is what he said about it. He dropped a video with it. And I quote, Jalen Hurts said, "Some of the most valuable lessons I've brought into my adult life were passed down to me during childhood, like the importance of doing something bigger than yourself. I'm excited to share some of that wisdom with the new generation of kids in Better Than a Touchdown," his book. I hope this book strikes a chord of resilience, encourages self-belief, and it resonates with not only kids, but teachers, mentors, and parents. So to me, it would appear that he wrote this book with students in mind. He wants to. I'm sure this book is going to be included in the Philadelphia School District curriculum. I wouldn't be surprised if they get this on the reading list. You know, I grew up during the 100 book challenge, right? I don't know if they did that in every school district across the country, but in the Philadelphia School District, we had what you call the 100 book challenge, and we had the responsibility, the task of reading a bunch of different books, you know, and you would get some kind of reward or points for it, right? And in order for you to graduate to the next color, you had to show that you read these books and that you were sufficient at it, and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know if the school districts are still doing the 100 book challenge, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see this book in libraries in Philadelphia and school districts in Philadelphia, whatever it is. You know, so shout out to Jalen Hurts, man. Shout out to Jalen Hurts for just being stand up, for being a leader, not just on the football field, but for being a leader in his own community, in Houston, in the communities in Philadelphia. Shout out to Jalen Hurts for just pouring into Black creators, Black artists, Black representation. Shout out to Jalen Hurts, man. So yeah, that's pretty much it for you guys, or that's it for me, rather. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Once again, you can catch this content not only on YouTube via the playback, but you can also lock in with me on Spotify and Apple Podcast. On top of that, you can check in with me on TikTok and Instagram. As you can see, all you got to do is type in chalkitup_sports. You'll find me on TikTok and Instagram. And on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, you can find me by typing in my last name right there, DeShields. You'll find me right there on Twitter, DeShields __. All right. And make sure you guys take advantage of the SeatGeek offer I have for you. Once again, I partner with SeatGeek. They're giving you guys $20 off your very first SeatGeek order. All you got to do is download the app, create a profile, decide what event you want to go to, use the promo code ChalkItUpSports, and you'll get $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Remember, it's baseball season. So, you know, it's a lot of games being played. Baseball games are so fun to go to. They're fun to experience. I love going to baseball games. I love going to Citizens Bank Park growing up. And even as an adult, man, like baseball games are just a relaxing event. You know, everybody's there for the same reason. It's fun. Football season is coming, right? The NBA playoffs just ended. Congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Praying for Tyrese Halliburton. Hopefully he makes a speedy recovery, man. But yeah, man, make sure you guys take advantage of the promo code here. Get $20 off your first SeatGeek order. And it's straight like that, you guys. That's all I have for you. I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. You guys have been locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game.